Today I have my university hoodie on. I'm feeling very academic and I just had a bunch of coffee. Oh, do you like my Sailor Moon mug? Or would you prefer my Death Note mug? I personally I'm quite partial to the Sailor Moon mug, but the Death Note mug has a very lovely capacity for tea, so anyway, today I'm making a video that I wanted to make for a while. Actually, the suggestion was from my friend Ivana, who suggested that I should do a video talking more about my plans about the future and Germany and stuff, which I mentioned in a previous video. But also, when I was doing my own research on this topic, the videos that I found were so boring. I barely got through them, and I just hope to make a video that is informative but doesn't bore you to death, because some of these other videos are
what do you mean?
This video is broken into chapters, so if you're interested in any particular section, you can just take a look at the little time bar, and each section is labeled, so you can just go ahead and click ahead. But I'm gonna start with my own personal background and why I'm even doing this whole thing. So I started learning German technically when I was a kid. I was 3 or 4, and I started learning English and German simultaneously, but then I kind of just dropped German and I just continued with English only for a very long time, up until I was 12, which here in Slovenia was 7th grade. And from 7th to 9th grade, so 3 years, which 9th grade is the last grade before high school here in Slovenia, I took German as an elective. It was just an elective, but I still feel I learned a decent amount. I think I got between, what was that? Probably between A1 and A2 by the end of middle school, which is fine. It was an elective, so I feel we only had it once a week or something, but I did enjoy it, so I ended up taking it in all 4 years of high school as well, and that's where I actually got pretty good. So by the end of high school, I was really decent already. I chose to take it as one of my Matura exam subjects, which the Matura exam is just the high school graduation exam, which is also the college entrance exam, kind of like the SATs or the Das Abitur, or A-levels. I think it's actually most similar to A-levels because you get to pick the subjects, and one of the ones that I chose was German, and I actually got the highest grade, which I think that actually gave me a B1 certificate, just flat out. I'm pretty sure I actually already have a B1 certificate through that whole process, but I never actually got it printed or requested, because at the time I didn't really have any plans for the future. So why am I interested now all of a sudden? Because I finished high school in 2016, so this is 5 years ago at this point. Basically for about a year now, I've been sort of actively learning German again as much as I can, whenever I can find the time, because my ultimate plan is, once I finish my studies, I want to move to Germany and get a job there and work there. And I don't want to be one of those people that moves there and doesn't speak the language. I do like German. It's still a pretty difficult language for me compared to English. It definitely doesn't just sort of go into my ears naturally like English does, but whatever. So that's sort of my background. That's sort of why I'm doing this. And now I kind of want to explain a little bit about the actual system. German being a European language, it does fall into the CERF classification system, which classifies language proficiency into 6 levels. It's actually 3 levels, and then each level has 2 little sub-levels or whatever, from A1 to C2. A1 is the most basic, C2 is the most proficient. A lot of people ask, okay, where's fluency? So what's fluent? I would say personally that C1 is fluency, because B2, which is the one before C1, is you have a very good grasp of the language, you can communicate efficiently in everyday situations, you don't have any problems communicating, but your language doesn't sound 100% natural, you don't really use phrases that native speakers would use. It sounds a little bit kind of robotic, and then C1 sort of fixes that and erases that. And then C2, which is the highest level, I would say most people never even achieve this. C2 is sort of that university level, very academic level of speech. It's kind of a level of language which you don't even interact with unless that's something that you do professionally, if your job is something to do with studying languages or something like that. C2 is definitely not the level that everyday conversation takes place in. Most people kind of aim for B2 or C1. I'm aiming for B2 because, well, that's honestly just kind of like what I've seen on most listings for like jobs that require German as a language. It's also like a nice sweet spot because I'm not too far from it. Like I only have to work like a little bit more to get it, and I think it'll be pretty good for beginning. By the way, I just realized like I keep looking down. That's because here's my monitor with like all the info that I want to relay. So like if that's kind of distracting when I look like this, that's just because like that's where my info is. So sorry about that. That's sort of like the basic CEFR level of description, but the CEFR levels are not the only kind of tests that you can take. German proficiency tests take place at Goethe Institute. It's basically like this institution that most countries will have like at least one, like somewhere. If it's a smaller country, it's probably just going to be in your capital city. That's how it is for me. And like you could just go there and take a test. So they kind of offer 3 different kind of tests that you could potentially want to take. So one is the DAF, or the Deutsch als Fremdsprache. Oh my god, I hate how I just said that. I'm so embarrassed about my pronunciation. Deutsch als Fremdsprache, which means German as a foreign language, and that is the one that you need to take if you want to study in Germany. So like if you want to study Germany or like Austria, any like German speaking place, they will most likely require you to take that one. Then you have like the ones that I mentioned from A1 all the way to C2, and then another one which I'm not sure if it's like newer or if it's been around and it's just lesser known, but it's called, I think it's called Deutsch für den Beruf. I actually need to look this one up, this is kind of embarrassing. Yeah, it's called Deutsch für den Beruf, which is like, it means like German for your profession basically. And this is one that I was kind of like intrigued by because, well, that's my goal, right? Like I'm gonna go to Germany to work there. So I actually inquired some actual German people and they hadn't heard of it like at all. So they told me that either it's like just not very well known and therefore not that relevant to take, or it's just like a super niche thing. And if it's like a super niche thing and it's within your niche, then you likely already know about it anyway. If it rings a bell but you were unfamiliar about what it is, maybe you should go and look it up. There's a very big distinction between learning a language to take the test and learning a language to be a good speaker. What this means is, like, for example, for me, the B2 test has a specific structure, it has a specific formula which is known ahead of time. You can look it up online, it's very publicly available, and you can just prepare for that specifically. Now, obviously, all of the things on the test are at the B2 level, but the test doesn't cover every single aspect of B2 level German in general, right? So there's gonna be things that I'm gonna be tunnel visioning on for the test, which are gonna make me overall a bit of a worse speaker in general. So you kind of have to like make a distinction and make a choice what you wanna go for. Or you can potentially like try to just learn holistic, like all-encompassing German, and then just take the test and you see if like you're good enough. But you're probably not gonna have the greatest test score. So you have to like decide what your priority is. For me, because I'm on a bit of a time crunch, I have chosen to just like tunnel vision into the test. Even though like my long-term overall goal is just to be a good German speaker, I kind of figure if I go in with a B2 test, that's like good enough of a basis that if I just move there and live my everyday life, that I'll be like good enough to improve to that level of being like naturally better. And because of that, this is like the part of the video where the budget comes in from the title. I only bought one book. And I believe that just by like doing this book very thoroughly and very well, I believe I'll get a good score because that's what the book is for. Let me show you. So this is the book. This is what it's called. It's called Fit fürs Goethe-Zertifikat B2 Tipps und Übungen. It's like a workbook basically, but every single thing that's in here is something that's on the B2 test. So it's very useful, it's very practical, it's very cheap, and it's made specifically for the test. I also really like it because it's very, like the design is very nice and colorful, and I've seen other workbooks which are just like very monotone and very black and white, and if you're a visual person like I am, then like having like a visually stimulating workbook is like so important for you to even like get anything done. So I have been like really enjoying this, and I'm gonna continue preparing for this up until the fall, which I'm planning to take the test in the fall. And for somebody who isn't like tunnel visioning on the test specifically, I would really recommend either Neue Aspekte or Erkundungen. Those are really good, and like they'll teach you like more all-encompassing German, and they don't focus on the test, but they will make you a better speaker overall. I do want to mention some applications while I'm at it. I wish I could like record my phone, but my phone is literally my camera, so I'm just gonna try to insert like little camera shots. But I personally love the app Closemaster. It's like this amazing app which takes a completely different approach to German learning or any language. It has a bunch of languages, but they basically present a sentence to you and it has one word missing, and that word that's missing is the least commonly used word out of every single word in that sentence, if that makes sense. So it's like a really amazing way to sort of like practice like the least commonly used words, because like those are the ones that you struggle with when you try to form your own sentences. So it's like having a way like that to remember them is amazing. And it also has like a spaced repetition sort of like program setting built into it, so it's so efficient for like learning. I'm a really big fan, but that's like the only thing that it offers, so it can be like a little bit one-dimensional. So if you don't like that, or like if you just want more, I've personally been enjoying Busuu a lot. It's like a hybrid between social media and language learning, because like there's people on it that help correct your statements and like you help them. It's like a very back and forth process, and I've been enjoying it. The only problem I have with it is that I have the free version right now, and it has like a limit on how much you can use it, which is kind of annoying, but I'm not gonna buy like the real one. And then the other one that I really like, but I've been using, to be quite honest, the least, but I think it's like a very well done app and I would recommend it, is Pimsleur. Pimsleur honestly feels like a bit of like a gap between like classical learning and then like online app learning, because it does have like 30-minute lessons, or maybe like there's more options than just 30 minutes, but like basically they have like a lesson. I really like the interface. It's very nice and modern and sleek. For me, it's a little bit hard to get into because it feels like I'm in school. And since I know there's people out there who don't have like that same reaction, I would definitely recommend it because it's a very well-made app. I think I've now said everything I wanted to say. Hopefully I didn't forget to say anything, and hopefully this video was informative. Obviously this video was like way different from anything on my channel, and I don't think it's gonna get that many views, but the point of this video was to be informative and to like relay some info to like help people like work out what they want to do. Next week I'll probably get back to like my regular scheduled posting. And thank you for watching, and goodbye. What am I even talking about?